Hi, I'm Gina Field from Oxford University Press, and I'm here today with Tara Dodson and Katie Press to learn a little bit more about essential letters and sounds developed by the Knowledge Schools Trust. So Tara, would you like to introduce yourself and just tell me a little bit about the drivers behind Knowledge Schools Trust developing essential letters and sounds?
I am the hub lead for the Knowledge Schools Trust English Hub, and as part of our work with schools, we started to notice that those schools that were following letters and sounds, there was some gap between the guidance and what was actually needing to be delivered in the classroom. So Katie started to develop some lesson plans and started to model some lessons for schools to ensure that they were delivering really high quality teaching every day. And we started to look at the parts of the guidance that weren't particularly useful for teaching, such as the games or activities where it left lots of options open for the teachers to kind of interpret what they might need to do. And we started to strip it back to its absolute basics. And Katie was doing this with her schools that she was supporting, and over the last year we've then developed into a complete SSP.
I am a literacy specialist for the DfE's English Hub programme, and as part of my work with the Knowledge Schools Trust English Hub, I was supporting schools who were following letters and sounds. It very quickly became apparent that there was a gap in what schools were teaching and what the guidance was saying, and it was because it was guidance. Schools did not necessarily know how to interpret this document. From there, I worked with the reading leads and phonics leads of these schools to ensure that there was a really consistent lesson plan and structure being used in all lessons. We also wanted to make sure that all staff are aware of the consistent terminology and language that would be used to support the programme and support the children.
So can you tell me what's different about essential letters and sounds?
Well, Essential Letters and Sounds is a complete systematic synthetic phonics programme, and this means that not only have we created all of the lesson plans and the structure and the overview for you to follow, but we've also created activity workbooks for the children to use within their lessons, interactive whiteboards for the children to use, and there is a really comprehensive training programme that accompanies all of that.
It was important that there was really comprehensive training provided for all members of staff who would be delivering essential lesson sounds, but also for all members of staff so that they could use it throughout the school. The decodable books that are used are published by Oxford University Press, and these books have been expertly matched to the essential lesson sounds progression.
So what can you tell me about the impact that essential letters and sounds has had on the schools that you've worked with so far?
Well, what we're seeing is that the impact is happening incredibly quickly. As part of the development process of our programme, we've been working with some schools for different periods of time. One of the schools that started at the very beginning of us developing this, when Katie was first putting together those lesson plans, had a phonics screener result of 76%. And when they conducted their phonics screener most recently, they got 97%. Other schools have come to us and said, within 2 or 3 weeks, they've seen every single child moving on with their learning. And one school that has an incredibly high EAL cohort told us that 3 of the children that were in their Year 1 class, they decided they were just never going to pass the phonics screen. All 3 of them passed when they did their most recent practice.
Teachers have told us that they feel really confident teaching essential lesson sounds lessons, and the children absolutely love the lessons themselves. And it's been amazing to see. We have seen such impact in the schools that are using essential lesson sounds. Children tell us that they love reading, that they want to read. All staff are trained in the programme, and this ensures that every member of staff uses consistent terminology and language, consistent resources, and consistent lesson structures. Essential Lesson Sounds has been developed by Tara and I to ensure that every single member of staff feels confident to teach phonics, but every single child learns to read well quickly.
So how will your programme support decodable reading books that schools may already have invested in?
The fantastic part of working with Oxford University Press is that by carefully matching the texts to the programme, schools that already have these books within their classrooms can use the programme seamlessly.
Due to the importance of vocabulary, communication and language, how is that integrated into essential letters and sounds?
In writing the programme, Katie and I have been really specific about the vocabulary that we use, not only in the lessons, but in our mnemonics and rhymes, and that this supports vocabulary development for the children. Thinking about the different backgrounds that children might come from, we want to give them this vocabulary as soon as possible in their learning journey, because we know that not only is this going to support them in their writing, it's going to be a fundamental part of their reading journey too. You know, if we look at things like the Matthew effect, the more that you have, the more that you can know. And if you're reading a text and you have no background knowledge of that vocabulary, you're not going to be able to make a cohesive understanding of what it means. You're not going to be able to comprehend what you are reading. And so we've ensured that at every single point possible, we've introduced new, exciting and adventurous vocabulary to the children, and we've contextualised it immediately, either through the use of an illustration on a flashcard or through a picture in the lesson, or a very detailed and clear explanation for the children in child-friendly language.
So tell me, what support can schools expect when they're adopting essential letters and sounds?
Schools that adopt essential lesson sounds can expect a really high quality, comprehensive, full training package. A whole school approach will ensure that every member of staff knows the consistent language, the consistent resources, and how to use the interactive whiteboard presentations. There are three main elements to the essential lesson sounds training. Embed, which is the theory and pedagogy to support the programme. Enact, how to deliver the essential lesson sounds lessons, and then enable, which is an intervention training to ensure that all children keep up with the programme rather than having to catch up.
There is additional support for your reading or phonics lead, and these are live training sessions that are delivered to you throughout the year. And in addition to this, there is the optional extra of an Evolve Day, which is there to help you develop your in-school practice. And that is bespoke to each school and developed with an ELS expert to make sure that you get absolutely everything you need for that day.
So how can schools find out more about adopting essential letters and sounds and why it might be right for their school?
Well, you can visit our website, essentiallettersandsounds.org, or look on the Oxford University Press website, or you could contact your local Oxford University Press sales consultant.